YouTube, this is Ty, your metalhead weatherman. Hopefully you guys have had a great weekend. Hopefully you guys will be ready for your work week on Monday. Before I get into the video, I'm gonna of course ask if you guys would like, comment, share, subscribe. Let's get this algorithm up so that way we can get this info out to the people that are in the affected areas that I'm going to be talking about today. You guys pretty much know the energy, you know the topic. It's going to be the severe weather threat. It's upcoming this week. So without further ado, let's take a look at Tuesday and Wednesday. A little bit too far out on the long range for Thursday, so I won't be going over that as much. But we can go over Tuesday and Wednesday for sure. So, of course, this is Tuesday right here. It's remained at a light risk for a while. So, I'm not too sure if they're going to put up a enhanced risk or higher than that. This definitely looks like it has the room to do so, but from what I've seen from previous model runs as far as stuff like Cape is concerned, I don't know. It's just showing this weird thing where the Cape seems really limited. If anything, I think the enhanced region would possibly be further to the north, but still 48 hours out. A lot can change, but let's look into days 4 through 8. So as you can see, get this to stop real quick. So as you can see, we have our slight risk and our enhanced risk for Wednesday, our day 4. And if you look real closely, you can see that both the slight risk and the enhanced risk have actually been widened out a little bit, especially further to the east and to the north. Whereas before, this enhanced risk was a little bit smaller. Now we have areas like Jackson, Mississippi in play, Tuscaloosa, Alabama, Monroe, Louisiana, Hattiesburg, Mississippi, Meridian. You guys have already been mentioned before, but yeah, you guys are in the gun again. And then in the slight risk, Memphis, you guys are in play. New Orleans, geez, you guys just keep on ending up in the crossfire here, especially after what happened last week. Birmingham, you're in this too. Baton Rouge, of course, and Montgomery, you're in play. And this even stretches into some parts of Missouri as well, in the southern tips of Illinois. Kind of crazy, right? Alright, so that's our day 4. And then we have our day 5 slight risk. It still remained a slight risk, but it has been extended a little bit further to the north now. Washington, D.C. Washington, D.C., you guys look like you're in play now. Philadelphia, Baltimore, Virginia Beach, Raleigh, you're still in play for this. It'll be interesting to see what happens with this risk area when we take a closer look at the short range models. And then we'll just take a quick look at day 6, 7, and 8. It looks like the predictability is too low. We'll take a look into the long range once we get a little bit, maybe Monday. I doubt I'll be able to make 2 videos. I want to try to take a look at it to see why they're saying predictability too low. If this holds, I'll try to make a second video. Can't guarantee it though. Anyways, we're going to move right along into Tuesday. We're going to get a look at the Euro, because this is like kind of a semi short range model, the high res version of the Euro, that is. It reaches up to about 90 hours out on pivotal weather here. Sounding a little stuffy, excuse me. And from what I can tell, it's about early afternoon, late afternoon, early evening. And as we move this forward, right around the late night hours, and there you can see some isolated storms kind of popping up around Kansas and Nebraska this time. It's not forming quite as far south as the last outbreak. It was actually forming a good bit north. Right around where our low is, just off to the east. And then later into the evening and starting to reach into the overnight, that's when our line of storms forms on what looks to be our dry line here. And then starts marching to the east. Looks like a fair amount of severe weather might be in store even for Iowa, possibly. It's probably outlined in tomorrow's risk area. Take a further look into it. We'll have a better look at everything tomorrow. So as we go further and further into Wednesday, we have a line of storms, but I think towards the southern area, I think there's a chance for some storms to form out ahead of this line, and it's these storms that I would be the most concerned about. I think that's where conditions are going to be more. This is right around where the enhanced risk area already is. I think this is going to be an area that's particularly of interest in regards to tornadoes. So as we move further and further forward, this becomes more and more of a linear event, which is basically code for damaging winds. Early Thursday morning, this sweeps through Atlanta, and that's the end of the model run. That's all I can show you. So we're just going to mainly be focusing on Tuesday and Wednesday. So let's go look at some parameters here. So it's about 48 hours out. We're looking into, again, late afternoon, early evening on Tuesday. And you can definitely see that there's plenty of warm air to work with. We have plenty of 70s and 80s reaching as far north as Kansas, and I expect this to continue to push northward into the late evening hours. And then, as you can see, we start to lose some of that daytime heating, but we're still into the late evening looking at 70s in a lot of places. Texas, you guys are baking in the 80s even now around this time Wednesday, or Tuesday into Wednesday morning. And then as the front passes, of course, temperatures drop. And then we're going to look into Wednesday, and you can even see it here. We're starting to hit that 80-degree temperature. That's when I really start getting concerned here. Usually once you're at about 70 to 75, storms tend to get a little bit more vigorous. But once you really get in the 80s, you can see some crazy stuff happen. Even if there's not a severe weather setup. I remember some days during the summertime here in Georgia, man, it'll be 85 and then a storm will pop off and it'll pull severe out of nowhere. So we'll watch this move forward towards the end of the model run. Temperatures are still going to be warm into the overnight on Thursday even. We'll be sitting into the upper 60s around Atlanta even come Thursday when that line is expected to come through. There's the end of our model run. So we're going to take a look at the low-level jet, because this is something that is going to be key to any sort of tornado outbreak potential. Dang, I cannot get this thing to stay where I want it to. Jeez. It just moves along with my computer. With my mouse, I mean. But we don't seem to have a lot going on as far as the low-level jet's concerned until like the late night hours. Getting into the overnight, a little bit concerning, but I do think this might be a little bit too far to the east. I think Omaha, you guys might be in play for this. I'm not very familiar with Kansas, so I don't know any cities to name off the top of my head. I'm sorry, guys. Oklahoma City, it looks like you're in this too. Just east of Dallas as well. You could have some low-level jet winds approaching 60, even 70 knots. More than sufficient enough for severe weather. So as we move further and further forward, of course, we're going to see the same old situation as last week. We're going to have a wind maximum start to develop right around this area, off to the west, and really even to the east a little bit. It's kind of concerning, like right where this little zipper is, I'm kind of concerned. That's where I'm thinking that there could be some potentially stronger tornadoes, maybe even some violent ones. And then as we move further and further into the overnight, this energy moves further and further off to the east, and then I really think this line of storms that comes through the southeast is going to have a little bit more oomph than the last one, especially with the temperatures being warmer. So now that we know what's going on with the low-level jet for Tuesday and Wednesday, there was one thing that I meant to look at, and that is the dew point. If we're seeing dew points in the 60s, that's a lot of room to be. That's something to be a little bit concerned about, because those storms are going to have plenty of heat, plenty of moisture to work with. The environment's going to be more than sufficient enough for severe weather. It already looks like it is. And as we move further and further, and now we can also see why there probably going to keep it at a slight risk for this area around here. Dew points are not really going up, aren't really spectacular. I mean, they're reaching up to about 50 in some spots, but it's nothing like last week where we were having 60s and at some places even 70 into the late night hours. So this makes it push north, but it doesn't quite get to where the low is hanging at. I think there will be a pretty sufficient straight line wind risk around here. Right around here to the south, though, I think that's going to be where our tornado threat really lies. So I'm going to move this further and further forward. We get plenty of rich Gulf moisture coming in, especially around Louisiana once again. So you guys down there definitely need to be careful. Be weather aware on Tuesday and Wednesday. And then if we look further and further forward, dew points are looking pretty right around the south, even around Atlanta, Birmingham, Thursday morning. Definitely looking pretty nasty here. So look through that. Let's look at the Cape. Let's see what we're working with here. And I think this is like a really big reason why they're not very certain. When I say they, I mean the Storm Prediction Center. So we see some Cape developing, but it's not spectacularly high. We do see some stuff that's sitting around the 1,000 to 1,500 joules per kilogram mark, which is about what you would need to have some severe weather, but it's not going to be widespread. So this may not be like the biggest performer as far as intensity, as far as severe weather intensity is concerned. This could uptick. Cape is a very funny thing to keep track of. I wouldn't be surprised to see these capes get bumped up by tomorrow. Who knows? It's hard to say, because it literally changes every day. But see, even now, towards Wednesday morning, Cape values aren't high, even with that line of storms. But interestingly enough, it seems like it tries to pick up around here, but I think we might just be a little bit too far out to really get a good handle on what we might actually be dealing with. But the fact that we're still seeing numbers around 1,000 plus with about 2 or 3 days to spare, I do think that some of this will be higher come tomorrow and leading up to the event. So we move further and further along, and we're towards the end of our model run. And that's really all I got there. So this is also a new tool that I found, and this will kind of give us an idea, and this also will help give us an idea on which areas we'll be seeing storms. This is the lightning flash density. This is basically a predictor of where there's a higher chance of who could be seeing lightning, especially intense lightning. You can see that'll be depicted by these colors here, of course. And we'll move this forward. Look about 48 hours out, nothing, and then all of a sudden, right around the late evening into midnight hours, look at that. Move this further and further forward. Look at all the coverage we end up getting. So there's plenty of juice for these storms. Whether this all upticks and increases in intensity, hard to say. But look at the colors here. We're getting into some really bright colors here. Right around Wednesday afternoon. It only picks up from there. I'll be interested to see what this looks like come tomorrow. And this is the end of the model run. So definitely the areas of greatest concern seem to be pretty much this entire slight risk area that they had outlined. Right around New Orleans, not around New Orleans, but right around West Louisiana, maybe even the Ozarks. But Mississippi, southern Mississippi especially, southern Alabama, you guys definitely might want to be weather aware come Tuesday and Wednesday, especially as we're starting to push into the overnight. Definitely have a way to get warnings late at night when you're on your way to bed, or really you can do what I do sometimes to stay up, but not everybody's going to be like me. I'm built a little bit different. I'm just kidding. Well, that's all I have for you guys tonight. You guys stay safe. I'll have another video for you guys tomorrow. This has been Ty, your Metalhead Weatherman. Hope you guys have a good night.